You're watching the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. I'm Tyler Jones, and on today's program, I'm going to talk about the return of I-Hart and how impactful that is for OKC.
I'm Rylan Stiles. I'm going to tell you why the Thunder should not trade for Giannis.
I'm Jay Lamb. I'm going to talk about losing Steven Adams, what impact that'll have on the Rockets.
This is Locked On's Thunder Squad Show, the twice-a-week show where Thunder talk gets real. No filters, no fluff, just raw takes, sharp opinions, and straight-up passion for the game, the way only Locked On Podcast Network knows how. Let's drop some dimes and squad up. The Thunder Squad Show starts now.
What's good, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome to another edition of the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Tyler Jones here with you. Happy to have you with us. Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb here along with you for this Thursday show. We got so much to talk about. NBA trade deadline is coming up. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the star from the Milwaukee Bucks, has put in a trade request. Would it make sense for Oklahoma City to give him a look? We'll talk about that coming up in just a moment. I-Hart, he is making his return tonight for OKC as they are set to square off against Minnesota. We'll talk about what his impact means for Oklahoma City. Joker, might not see him on Sunday for the debut of Sunday Night Basketball on NBC. And so does that mean the MVP race is over, as he might not reach that 65-game threshold? We'll talk about that. And then the Houston Rockets, they have lost our old friend Steven Adams for the remainder of the season. What does that mean for Houston and the rest of the Western Conference race? We'll talk about that at the end of today's show. Guys, let's begin with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Rylan and I were literally just talking about this a few days ago over text. I was at a Target and saw that somebody had returned their kid-sized Greek Freak jersey. And Rylan says to me, well, they must know about the trade demand that's coming. Sure enough, that was exactly what came about a few days later. And it was inevitable, right? We knew it was coming. He won his title. Things have not been the same. The Doc Rivers experiment has been a disaster. I don't know how he still has a job there in Milwaukee. Nonetheless, he wants out. And you look around, there aren't a ton of teams that have the assets that it would take to pull off a trade for Giannis. And also, I would imagine he wants to play for a contending team. And so then that even narrows it down even further. Who has assets to pull it off? And who is good enough that Giannis actually wants to be there? And so then we point to Oklahoma City as a possibility. Rylan, we'll start with you. You are adamantly opposed to this idea. Explain why the Thunder should not trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, I think that when you look at it, this is also a weird situation for the Bucks. Like you mentioned, all of the qualifiers for who can and can't trade for them. Also, the CBA makes it incredibly hard to move on from a guy like Giannis nowadays. We'll talk about that from the Thunder standpoint as well. And then, some of these teams who don't have the assets currently today, they will have more first-round picks unlocked for them on draft day whenever the new league year flips over. But then you'd be trading for a guy who's basically on an expiring contract, as opposed to a guy who's a couple of years of club control if you trade for him right now. So it's a catch-22 for the Bucks, and I'm not sure if they're going to take a deal between now and February 5th or if they're going to hold this into the offseason. But ultimately for Oklahoma City, Giannis is an incredible player. He's top 5 in the sport. To have 2 top 5 players in the NBA on one roster is always going to sound appealing. The Thunder are always going to be put into these trade discussions from now until the time that this abundance of draft pick assets, dry up for them. But the reality remains that with where the Thunder are positioned, there's only a few paths to go and get Giannis, and one of them does not include even the ability to trade one of the big three, in looking at Chet and J-Dub, to make this trade legal. So, the first way to make it legal would be you throw together Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Kenrich Williams, Ousmane Dieng, Cason Wallace, Nikola Jokić, Thomas Sorber, and picks. And you look at it and say, you know what? The first 4 guys are salary filler. You get 3 top 15 picks in Wallace, Jokić, and Sorber, plus you get first-round picks. However, that leaves OKC with just 9 players on their roster, and they would be above the apron to where they would be losing abilities to sign buyout candidates. They'd be losing the ability to bring guys in free agency with the mid-level exception because of this trade. So that option even though it is financially legal, is not practical, because then you cannot have a roster of 9 players and you don't have any mechanisms to sign new guys in season. So you move on to the next asset. We talked about, well, what about trading Chet or J-Dub in this package? The problem is Chet and J-Dub currently are still on their previous contract. Their extensions don't kick in until next year. So currently J-Dub only makes $6.5 million and Chet only makes $13.7 million. Well, the Bucks are already amidst the apron. They cannot take on more money than they are giving up, and they can't give up more money than they're taking on. So they have to fit this needle of matching salaries, and neither team can do that, because the Thunder, for example, if they were to take on Giannis, they would find themselves not only from a non-tax-paying team, which they currently are, they'd shoot their way all the way up to at least the first apron, and there's some trades that would put them into the second apron. And so that changes what makes the Thunder legal as well in these trades. The only realistic, when it comes to the financial litigation of this all, to trade for Giannis would be the Thunder trading Isaiah Hartenstein and Lou Dort for Giannis, and then, of course, you'd have to overwhelm them with picks. Again, the Thunder could not use a Topic or Schwarber or Cason Wallace as a sweetener in lieu of picks because of the CBA restrictions that Milwaukee is enduring. So it would have to be Lou and I-Hart, and they abundance of first-round picks to make this happen. Well, what's the problem with that? Lou might be out of here in July anyway. Same with Isaiah Hartenstein. Well, the problem for Oklahoma City would be, first and foremost, on the court. You'd have the best defense of all time on paper if you could add Giannis to this team and only give up Lou Dort and I-Hart. But the offensive side of the floor, you're building around 2 non-shooters with a team that we've spent the last 6 months complaining about can't shoot the 3 ball. I don't know how you would score efficiently enough on the offensive end with this roster. There's nobody harder to integrate into a roster at the midway point of the season than Giannis, who's also, by the way, coming off of an injury. And then you dig a little bit deeper, and in a small market, you'd be taking on Giannis's contract, which right now pays him $54 million this year, $58 million the year after that. And then he has a $62 million player option in 2027, 2028, which, given his injury history and given the fact that he'll likely want to choose his destination and it won't be Oklahoma City, you imagine he declines that option. So what's the big deal there? You go from the Thunder meticulously manicuring this salary cap spreadsheet to have a window of 7-8 years of competitive contending basketball status, to nuking all of that and giving yourself 2 years of a window to go win a championship. And one of those 2 years, Giannis is already hurt, and you've dealt with injuries yourself. No one knows what J-Dub's status will be come the playoffs in terms of what ability he can be at, whether it's 100% or 85%. He will return, but what does he look like when he returns? Same question opposed with Giannis. So it really just does not make sense at any level, the CBA, on the court, or what it does for your future to go trade for Giannis.
All right, Rylan, he can breathe for a second now. With all that, Jeremy, what you just heard, what's your thoughts on the idea of potentially trading for Giannis here?
First of all, can y'all hear my mic? I think I turned it off.
Sounded great.
That's good. Okay. I can't believe you got to make me go after that. I'm gonna come at it from another angle. I mean, of course, I don't think they should try to trade for Giannis, but from the angle of Sam Presti, just from how he likes to build a team, invest in a team, develop players, he's brought a championship team together twice. The first time they could have won, it didn't work. He tried to bring in some stars to match up with Russ, didn't really work. Then he started from the ground up like he did before, and he put all this work in. Now he has a championship team. I don't think trading for Giannis, I feel like that would tear down more of the hard work he did rather than build it up. Like Rylan said with all the numbers, I mean, I don't know the numbers side, but yeah, he's got a player option in a couple years for 62. Everything, I feel like the way he put the team together right now is what he could dream of. So just trying to do things like that, I feel like it would look a little greedy. It would have to work, and I don't think they got to be that aggressive to do it. Secondly, too, if Giannis went to OKC, like what, like I feel like his legacy would be tarnished. Like what you gonna be that great of a player and then go to the team that just won? Like, will anybody, like, what would he gain out of that? Like, I feel like that would just be that'd be a terrible decision.
Sounds like
on
someone
his
else we
part.
know.
So that'd be a terrible decision on his part, but I mean, it's different for my boy because he went there and he built them back up and he was the MVP twice. But anyways, yeah. So I just think that would be bad for both parties.
Now, the way I look at this, guys, this idea, as both of you have beautifully gone about this in different angles, is that it's to put it in the simplest terms, the cons feel like they outweigh the pros here. Like, win a title with Giannis and have a great duo with SGA? Absolutely, you could. But I feel like, Rylan, the path is easier to stay with the path you're on rather than going down this route. It is easier for Oklahoma City to contend for titles for this year and beyond with not having to worry about a superstar that's 31 years old, that's already banged up, that has a questionable contract, and all that you'd have to give up. Like, it's of choosing those roads ahead. It's not a knock on Giannis, the player, at all. Don't get me wrong here, folks. Giannis is a Hall of Famer. Shout out Bill Belichick. But like, it's not an indictment on him whatsoever. It's the path here, and the path is so much easier of what they're on rather than diverting from the path. And with them having that number one seed in the West, the best record in the NBA, they haven't shown something that says they should divert from that path right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to make your life harder and to shrink your own window. And championship windows are never as wide and open as you think that they always are. And things are going to pop up between now and the 7-8 year window that they believe that they have in Oklahoma City, whether it be a season that's just full of injuries and you can never get healthy, you can never get it right, whether it be some regression from role players that you need to swap out and find a new identity with a core nucleus. There's going to be things like that naturally arise. And if you trade for Giannis, you are just ending all of that, and you're going to have to quickly restart, and you might find yourself in a position with your own superstar that Milwaukee finds themselves in. The reason this didn't work in Milwaukee is that they went and got Dame Lillard, and Dame Lillard and Giannis did not work. And now you had to waive and stretch Dame Lillard, and now your salary sheet is so warped and so messy that you do not have the legal ability to sign mid-level exceptions. You don't even have the ability to go get a buyout candidate. You don't have the ability to make trades that add to your team. You've got to do one-for-one, money-for-money trades. You don't have your draft picks because you traded them for Dame. They are in a position where they literally cannot get better as an organization right now. And that's what Giannis sees. That's what the Bucks see. And that's why both parties are comfortable moving on and hitting that reset button. The Thunder should not want to push that reset button anytime soon. They should want to stay on this path and move forward. And it's going to be a situation where the Thunder don't need a seismic move like this. They're going to need to make a move in July. They're going to need to reshape some of their roster in July. And they understand that. And I think they're fully aware that they're going to do that in July, whether they win a championship or not. But now is not the time. And those moves in July will not be something that alters the window and the runway of competitive basketball.
Jeremy, let me ask you this. So at this time last year, we had the Luka trade to the Lakers, and that certainly shook some things up in the West as the Mavs fell apart. And the Lakers, it was a big addition for them, but they really haven't done anything necessarily with Luka necessarily. They were limited in the first round. I would think that if Giannis does get traded, he would likely end up in the Western Conference. If it's not Oklahoma City, is there a team that you look at, Jeremy, and you say, I hope Giannis doesn't end up here? Is there a team that you look at and you say, man, I hope he doesn't end up here because that's going to make things tougher for Oklahoma City?
I mean, it's a couple teams, but I think one that really sticks out is probably like Golden State. Um, I feel like if he went there, they could get some momentum. Um, and you don't want to play Golden State early in the playoffs. Say they get to the play-in, and you got to play them early. Like, they're an older team. You want to play them later in the playoffs. But if you got to see Steph Curry, Draymond, Giannis, and some of their role players over there in the playoffs, I think they could make it tough. They could take some energy out of them. I don't know if I would pick them to win if Giannis went there, but that's somebody I would want him to stay away from.
Rylan, real quick, anyone that you would like to see him stay away from in the West?
Yeah, it's really anyone in the Western Conference, just given the fact that what Jeremy said, whether it is Golden State, or whether it is somebody else in the Western Conference like Houston, like the standings feel pretty solidified right now in the sense of where things are going to be, especially when you factor in that Giannis is currently hurt. So it's not as though he's going to play February 6th or whatever team he goes to if he's moved on February 5th. You're still going to have to survive for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks without Giannis. So that therefore the Warriors, to Jeremy Lamb's point, would be coming into Oklahoma City as the 8th seed. If you're having an 8th seed and you have Steph and Giannis on the same team as a number 8 seed, that's really a dangerous game to play if you're Oklahoma City to have to run into a team like that. You can talk the long-term logistics of like, does Steph and Giannis fit whenever Steph and whenever Giannis and Dame didn't fit, whatever. But it is just difficult to match up with that talent level in the first round for a number 1 seed. It'd be something we haven't really seen before of a Giannis and a Steph together for an 8 seed going up against OKC. So the Warriors and the Timberwolves are the biggest suitors out West. Those two teams would especially be difficult to see Giannis go to.
Right. And if he goes to, somebody in the West, let's take Golden State as that example here. For much that's talked about of that, hey, they wouldn't have necessarily a whole lot of time to gel. Well, you also wouldn't have as much time to get ready and prepare for that because there wouldn't be the film out there as much to study and get to know and see what it takes to stop and defend that either. So it kind of goes both ways. More to come on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. I-Hart is back. We will catch up to speed on where things stack up for the Oklahoma City Thunder on the injury front. And then later on, is Joker not going to play on Sunday for the Denver Nuggets? What does that mean for Denver, as well as Oklahoma City, and for SGA when it comes to the MVP hunt? We'll talk about all that and more as we roll along here on this Thursday edition of the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your debt. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a TurboTax local expert for just $150, all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. We continue here on the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show. Tyler Jones, Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb back here with you now. We want to thank you for making the Locked On Thunder podcast your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out the new Everydayer Club. Access to ad-free audio feed of the Locked On Thunder podcast, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. An invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show, where you can interact directly with Rylan. All you have to do, folks, is go to LockedOnThunder.supercast.com. That's LockedOnThunder.supercast.com, or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. I-Hart is back in the lineup tonight for the Oklahoma City Thunder. The injury update now, where things stand, AJ Mitchell remains out with an abdomen injury. Cason Wallace is day-to-day with some left hip soreness, and he's questionable for tonight's game. Alex Caruso is out for tonight with the right abductor strain, and of course, Jalen Williams has been out. He'll be reevaluated in the next couple of weeks with that hamstring injury. But nonetheless, Jeremy, let's start with I-Hart. Getting him back in this lineup, huge for Oklahoma City, specifically when it rebounding, which has been a problem for them with playing this smaller lineup here the last couple of weeks since he's been out.
Yeah, it's great to get him back, not just for the team, but for his own mental. Just trying to get back in the swing of things. And as for the team, he definitely brings leadership and that toughness, that physicality that you need a big to be on the team. And he's another playmaker when he gets the ball in the middle of the zone. I notice when people play zone against them and he's not in the game or he's hurt, sometimes the offense get a little stagnant. So he's also another weapon for you offensively. But like I said, just having him back is not only good for him, but the team, because he does so many other things that you're not gonna see in the stat sheet. He's been around the league for a while. He knows the game. He knows how to win. He puts his body on the line every night. So just getting somebody like that, the heart and soul of a team type guy, it's always great. He's probably excited.
Rylan, I-Hart making his return to Oklahoma City. What's kind of your thoughts about what we should see out of I-Hart here?
Yeah, I mean, you should see a lot from I-Hart in every facet of the game. Whenever you look at it, this team, since he's been out, has been dead last in rebound percentage. Whenever he's healthy and available, they jump up to 18th in rebound percentage. So, I mean, you look at that increase is pretty sizable, but also this is a team right now that is dealing with a lot offensively and a lot of problems offensively. And you don't think about him as an offensive scorer, but he is able to set guys up in so many different ways. His screen setting ability creates separation for the guys who are thrusted into some creation opportunities like an Aaron Wiggins. If we see Ousmane Dieng today, like Ousmane Dieng, who was the lead initiator for a lot of those minutes, surprisingly enough, against New Orleans. So like his screen setting ability helps those guys who are in different roles. Most importantly, though, his high post passing helps everybody involved, including Chet Holmgren. You saw them grow a really big connection to start this season. The big lobs that they were able to throw. I-Hart can find him around the rim. I-Hart can also put bodies on guys around the rim to help Chet clean up some putbacks in there as well. So I think that I-Hart's just overall offensive game when it comes to DHOs to free up Isaiah Joe. Those two have a great connection as well. It can help the Thunder not look as constipated offensively as they have been here recently, whenever they've been missing J-Dub, whenever they've been missing AJ Mitchell. And so it can be a big uptick for him on top of the fact that he's also in some ways a good scorer by the way that he can roll to the rim, get to his floater in the mid paint, be in the dunker spot, and be available there as well. So it also elongates their front court depth, playing a team that has, Randall playing at a great level right now, arguably a career year for Julius Randle. Rudy Gobert is playing awesome. They have a bunch of different options for Chris Finch in that front court. So you want to have your full complement of front court players and push everybody back to a more normal role. J. Will being back as a third string center, Kendrick being back as a small ball guy, and Brendan Carlson being back to a break glass in case of emergency guy. That's kind of the perfect system and the perfect timing to get him back against Minnesota.
Jeremy, when we watch I-Hart play, when he is healthy at full strength, I would go as far to say that he is arguably the underrated player in the NBA. The way that he can affect a game in a variety of ways when he's at full strength with his offense, with the defensive side of the ball, rebounding. I mean, there's so much that I-Hart brings to the table, but it all starts with him being at full strength, which we haven't really seen it a ton of in his 2 years in OKC.
Yeah, he could be considered one of the most underrated big men for sure. Just because he's not one of the guys that's out there scoring 40, like Joel Embiid, all these guys, they had 60-point games. Like, he's not going to do that. He's going to do the things that help the team win. And the good thing about it, he doesn't care. He doesn't care having 2 points and 12 rebounds and set good screens if they win, and that's the type big you need, especially for this team. So he could be maybe one of the most underrated bigs for sure, but it's obviously a lot of underrated players in the league, so it's hard to just pick one. But yeah, I put him on my list. He's definitely one of those guys.
Rylan, the injury front beyond I-Hart here, you still have Mitchell, Wallace, Caruso, and obviously J-Dub out right now. This injury list was pretty long just a couple days ago. This is it's a step in the right direction for sure, but there's still a ways to go for this team of getting these guys back clearly here.
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly a step in the right direction. This is the second straight game that Cason's been upgraded to questionable, which typically is a sign that, like the player is very close to returning and will return. So if he returns tonight, then all of a sudden you're looking at a team that is just down AJ, Caruso, and J-Dub. And the worst part about that being that you're down both of AJ Mitchell and J-Dub, the two guys who you can't really recreate in any way, shape, or form. At least if you were down just Caruso, for example, or just one of those two guys, you have other defenders to put in Caruso's slot. You don't have any other shot creators or table setters that you can put into the place of AJ or J-Dub besides SGA, who can't play the full 48 minutes. So that's kind of the biggest issue right now. We already know that J-Dub will be out multiple weeks and likely going to be out through the All-Star break if you had to take a guess. But AJ Mitchell, Caruso, and Cason, they're all day-to-day. They're all kind of going to take it day by day. It's another good thing to see the Thunder have 2 straight off days after this game, which can really help them get on the mend and get back into the lineup for Sunday's marquee matchup. But Cason being questionable, though, is very encouraging, especially considering the Thunder's history of upgrading guys to questionable. They typically play under that setting. We'll see Cason go through his pregame warmups here soon in Minnesota, and then see where he's at.
Yeah, we'll see where things go from there. As far as that goes. With that said, Jeremy, of those guys that are out right now, who's the most important you think for Oklahoma City to get back next? Now that I-Hart's back in the equation, who's the name to watch that they need the most right now?
That they need to get back?
Yeah.
Like Rylan said, one of the playmakers, either AJ or J-Dub. So, you said J-Dub going to be out for a while. I mean, Caruso, he brings the ball up as well, too, and kind of let Shai play off the ball a little bit. So, definitely, I would say AJ just because he's been having a good year. I would want him to get back in the lineup and stay with that rhythm he's had because – like you said, or like we were saying on the last show, he's finally getting some respect. Him making the game at All-Star Weekend, that's no easy thing to do. So I would like to see him get back and be able to keep his momentum going.
Rylan, one thing that we have not seen a lot of in the last 2 years is I-Hart and Chet on the floor together at the same time, both of them being healthy at the same time. And when we have seen it, of a small sample size the last 2 years, there's reason to be optimistic. Like it's looked good, but we just haven't seen enough of it. Personally speaking, if I would guess, Rylan, there's probably no one happier about I-Hart coming back than Chet Holmgren, because that certainly makes life a lot easier on him, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, we saw them win a championship that way by playing double bigs the entire postseason and being able to get over that hump. And last year, they had to be shoehorned together after the trade deadline because of Chet's hip fracture, but they quickly got on the same page. This year, it's been taken to a whole new level of those first 25 games that they were together, of these two guys finding a way to work it out where they can find the spacing necessary to have success, and they can play off of each other to have success on the offensive end. Defensively, it's just a nightmare for opposing teams. And also, you look at the glass, like Chet's gotten a lot better at rebounding the ball. He's gotten a lot more functional strength, as Mark points out, with Chet, but having another guy down there who can pitch in and actually put a body on a guy is a huge deal. And it's not just for Chet, it's for the entire team, because now it makes it more realistic to expect the Thunder can get these long rebounds going their way. So these two guys have been stellar together, in their time on the floor, and I expect that to continue.
Joker, he could be out for when the Thunder face him on Sunday. We'll talk about what that means for the Denver Nuggets, as well as the MVP race involving Jokic and SGA. Also, later on, our old friend Steven Adams is out for the season. What does that mean for the Houston Rockets, as well as the Western Conference race? We'll break that all down next here on the Thunder Squad Show. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I was shocked when Rocket Money showed me I was paying for Netflix, and I completely forgot about that. I wasn't watching anything on there, so got that canceled. Saved me money on it, folks. I love how it tracks all my subscriptions and lets me cancel them right in the app with just a few taps. No more hunting down customer service numbers. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Halfway through this edition of the Oklahoma City Thunder Squad Show, Tyler Jones, Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb back here with you now. Let's talk about Jokic and his potential status for Sunday. It looks like that he will likely not play. His situation was being reevaluated, and now that's kind of changing of sorts. And so it looks like that we probably won't see him on Sunday for the Denver Nuggets. And so that has a couple of implications to it, Rylan. For one, that's one less game that Denver has to be putting him out there against Oklahoma City and see potentially two of the best in the West. But step further than that, this could affect that 65-game threshold he needs to be eligible for postseason awards, and basically ends the MVP race. As we know, as long as SGA stays healthy and the Thunder keep winning, then that MVP race could essentially be over, and SGA might end up with every first place vote.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this situation for Denver, and originally this was the week he was supposed to come back, and a lot of people targeted, somewhere in like the 28, 29 range, which is where we sit currently. And then on Tuesday, Shams Charania said that he'd be reevaluated in a week. Now, the question from Shams' reporting was just the NBA would consider a week being like Sunday starts the week, or did he mean like 7 days from Tuesday, which would be next Tuesday, and missing the Sunday game? But the ultimation is, if he misses Sunday, the MVP race is over, because he was actually saved by the Nuggets having a game postponed last week, which gave him an extra game to be able to miss in the meantime to still be eligible, because that game will not be made up until March. But if he's still going to miss Sunday, which was going to be his last drop dead day to get there in time to meet the 65-game requirement rule, then if he misses Sunday, he's out of eligibility for the award. There's nothing left for voters to do. SGA, far and away, the only other guy having the MVP season other than Jokic. So you would expect him to not only win the award, but to your point, if the voters are not doing anything weird or petty, he should be a unanimous MVP. I know that they take themselves very seriously. I know that they take their vote very look at me, Louie type of thing. They don't want to give away a unanimous MVP. Oh, if this guy was never a unanimous MVP, how can Shai be? The season merits him being unanimous if Jokic is not eligible. We'll see if he actually gets it. But either way, he'll win the award so long as Jokic doesn't come back on Sunday, because Jokic is having a great season himself. But then furthermore, for Sunday's matchup, while the Thunder are dealing with a lot of injuries, they're also dealing with a very tough part of their schedule here before the All-Star break. And now you're seeing Aaron Gordon also today be ruled out for that game on Sunday and be ruled out for a significant period of time here. Like Aaron Gordon, who's already missed a big chunk of the season, he will miss another 4 to 6 weeks right now with that hamstring issue. Christian Brown still out for Denver as well. Jamal Murray has popped up on injury reports with right hamstring inflammation and left hip inflammation. He's been having to carry a massive load offensively and defensively for Denver, clearly. But he is probable to play, to be clear, Jamal Murray is, but just something to monitor. Same as Jonas Valanciunas, who had to rush back from an injury earlier this year, and he's dealing with a calf strain, but he is probable as well. Cam Johnson also out for Denver. They are very beat up. This is not going to be any sort of preview of what this series what the series will be in the playoffs on Sunday, but it's going to be a matter of like a battle of attrition of who can get there with the most active guys and keep their active guys through the end of the game, because everyone who's going to be playing is going to be battling something on Sunday. So it's going to be a really weird game whenever it should have been a huge marquee highlight event.
Yeah, first ever of the Sunday night series on NBC, the Sunday night basketball night in America thing. And obviously it's in their lead up to having the Super Bowl the very next week. So yeah, it would be, I'm sure the most disappointing will be NBC executives for not having Jokic out there as far as that goes. J Lamb, back-to-back MVPs for SGA. That sounds pretty nice.
That sounds great. But I mean, yeah, he got my vote. He's doing everything. He's winning. But I hate this award just because there's so many MVPs in the league. Like, it's so many people that you can look at and say he's the most valuable player to their team. So he deserves it, though. You know, he's, like I say, he's doing everything. He came back from a year where people basically, he got every award. It's kind of hard to think, like, how is he going to be better? And he came back this year even better, still consistent, available, willing his teams to wins, and, you know, no matter who's out there. So you got to give it to him based on how the NBA scores it. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of people out there playing well, a lot of good teams right now. So shout out Jaylen Brown. People always, you know, doubt him. He's shown that he can carry a team. You know, there's just so many players out there that you could point to and call an MVP. But at the end of the day, Shai has definitely separated himself. He's doing way more than he did last year. And that's a bold statement to say, looking back on his year. So it's incredible. And hopefully he win back-to-back.
Yeah, hopefully so. Rylan, in Denver's case, you mentioned just how much the injuries have stacked up for that team. And, of course, Joker being out. I've been impressed that, you know, there was this thought, this expectation that, okay, they might fall down in the standings quite a bit here, that this could, you know, change things up where Oklahoma City might have to play both Denver and San Antonio now based on just how that all goes. But they've won enough where it actually looks like that, assuming, you know, they get Joker back here at some point here pretty soon, that things could hold up where they stay in that 3 line of sorts, and Oklahoma City avoids having to play both them and San Antonio in the playoffs here.
Yeah, this is the best possible outcome for Oklahoma City, to see these guys like Jamal Murray have an incredible season. And he's going to be, of course, the first-time All-Star this year, finally getting his All-Star appearance. Peyton Watson has been incredible for Denver, and what he's done as a guy who what was kind of entering this year as a prove-it year for him. He's proven it on both ends of the floor, winning even a Western Conference Player of the Week in that span here recently. Spencer Jones has been awesome for them, and they've got to figure some things out how to keep him long-term whenever you look at his two-way days. But beyond that, they've seen guys like Jalen Pickett have big games to step up. The only guy that you can really be disappointed, even Julian Strouthard stepping up, has been De'Ron Holmes, who I'm very, very high on. But like this should have been a moment for him. He has not had quite a moment yet. Whenever there should have been a big time opportunity for him to step up. But other than that, it's been awesome for Denver to see them rally around each other, a real galvanized group of players whenever they've been down so much. They've had every reason and every excuse in the book to just pack it in and say, you know what, just get to the playoffs and let's see what happens whenever this team is healthy. But they're truly fighting every single night. And that level of grit and that level of fight was not there in the regular season recently for Denver, including being swept by Washington in the regular season last year. So like to see them come out every single night and battle like this is great for Denver, but also great for Oklahoma City, because you do not want to have to go to Denver again in round 2 like you had to last year. You want to push that battle as far away as possible and give yourself a shot to only play one of San Antonio in Denver. And so with the Houston injury news, with the Lakers being so up and down, with even the Timberwolves being so up and down, they're 4-6 in the last 10 games after having the best record in the NBA from Thanksgiving to Christmas. It's going to be good for Oklahoma City to see if the Nuggets can continue this trend.
Yeah, we'll see exactly if they can keep on going or not. But yeah, it's been impressive to say the least what they've done so far to this point. Jeremy, when you look at this situation for Oklahoma City here, if it comes down to it in a Western Conference final, let's say, would you rather right now face San Antonio or Denver? If you're OKC, you have the choice.
If I'm OKC, I would definitely want to see. Wait, both teams at full strength?
I'm talking about. Let's say full strength Western Conference final. Which would you rather face, San Antonio or Denver?
I would say Denver. I'd rather face Denver. And not because OKC has lost to the Spurs, but I just feel like the Spurs are a little more hungry. You could see them trending up. And at the end of the day, they match up well with OKC. They're a big team. So yeah, I would rather Denver. And I know, obviously they got Jokic and stuff like that, but I just think the players around their stars is better on the Spurs than on Denver. So I would take Denver.
What about you, Rylan? Same question. If you're Oklahoma City, would you rather face San Antonio or Denver in a conference final?
Yeah, these are two tough matchups. Jeremy's points well taken. The Spurs, you would wonder about just the natural, big stage element getting to a young team like San Antonio. Although if San Antonio had made it to the West Finals, they clearly have quickly gained a lot of experience, a lot of battle scars, having to go through the gauntlet that they would face en route there, including in this scenario, Denver having beaten them already. And they do have a defense that can really give Oklahoma City fits, and Shai fits in particular, to where you look at that and maybe shy away from that. Neither one a great outcome. I did like how they defended Jokic in last year's playoff series, but last year's playoff series went 7 games with a really banged up Denver team, and you would hope for their sake that they're healthy by the time they get to the West Finals, although that's no guarantee for either side. So of these two, I would just gamble on San Antonio's youth and inexperience, but there is no great option here. I think that you can pick either one and know it's going to be a dogfight.
I choose the Lakers. That's the choice I go with. No. In all seriousness, I hear both of you on this. I think you both make good points, but I would gamble on the experience factor. I think I'd rather face San Antonio than I would Denver, because Denver's done this before. They have arguably the best player on the planet. Wemby could be that someday, but I don't think he's that just yet. And they've won a title. They've seen what it takes to forward. San Antonio, with this core, hasn't even been in the postseason yet to this point. But they definitely have a very bright future. I think it's going to be a very intriguing playoff, to say the least, but how all this plays out. And I mentioned before we go to break real quick, does anybody agree with me that David Adelman, the Nuggets head coach, looks like that one character from Mad TV. He's got that look to him. That's what I think of every time. It's the biggest distraction to me. I think I'm watching Mad TV when I see like a cartoon character face with David Edelman.
I agree.
Next up with the Thunder Squad show, the Rockets have lost Steven Adams. What does that mean for Houston, as well as how things stack up in the Western Conference? We'll talk about that as we continue. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. The Oklahoma City Thunder Squad show rolls on. Rylan Stiles, Jeremy Lamb, Tyler Jones back here with you now. And some unfortunate news for the Houston Rockets, as our old friend Steven Adams is out for the season with an ankle injury. And if you recall, the Houston Rockets were already a bit shorthanded as is, as Fred VanVleet's been out for the whole season. And now you lose Steven Adams. And here's how things look in the Western Conference. The Houston Rockets are tied for the 4th seed. Actually, they have a half-game advantage, over the Los Angeles Lakers at 28-17. The Lakers sitting at 28-18. T-Wolves, who the Thunder play tonight, sitting there at 29-19. The Suns, I don't know how, are sitting there at 28-19 in the 7th spot. And then there's Golden State at the 8th spot, 27-22. So it's all very tight between 4 and 8 right now. Jeremy, you're a former teammate of Steven Adams. He is still a very good player at this point in his career. This is a big loss for Houston not to have Steven Adams there, and certainly changes some things in a very tight race in the West between those 4 through 8 seeds there.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys who do a lot of things that you don't see in the stat sheet. Every screen, he locks in on his screens. Those things mean a lot when you got great players, explosive players. Houston got a good team. Obviously, they got KD, who, you get him open, your chances are good on scoring that possession. You got Amen Thompson, one of the most athletic people in the league, or if not in NBA history. You screening for him, he's gonna be to the rim every time. You got him, you got just Torrey Eason. You just got so many players that he fits them perfectly because he's getting them extra shots. He's setting great screens. He's always solid and talking on defense. He's just one of those guys that can really bring a team together and really get teams over the top, especially in the playoffs when the physicality jumps up a little bit. Refs not calling everything. You need strong physical guys like that to get you through some battles, whether you're at home, on the road, especially, just mentally. He's also not only physically, but mentally tough. The way he is able to just block things out. He's not going to lose his mind and get technical fouls. He's the type that get in other people's head. And I've seen that plenty of times. So, for them to lose him, I think it's going to have a huge impact on their team. I think they'll still be okay just because he wasn't playing that many minutes. They still got some solid bigs over there, but they definitely going to miss him. And, if I was on the other side, I'd be happy that I don't got to run through them screens, the rest of this season. He got a couple more seasons that you're going to have to, but you get a break the rest of this season. So shout out Steven Adams. I hope he gets well and a speedy recovery.
Rylan, you look at that Rockets team, Sengun, he's day-to-day, a little banged up right now. Clint Capella, of course, is there. As Jeremy was alluding to, those bigs, guys like Jabari Smith, I mean, they got a good rotation when it comes to those guys. With that said, taking Steven Adams out of the lineup, it's not I don't think it necessarily means things are over for the Houston Rockets, but it's not easy to replace him either. They're going to have to get pretty creative to overcome this. It's not the end of the world, but they certainly have work to do here.
Yeah, I would be stunned if they can reach contender status this year. And sometimes you run into years like this where before the year, Fred VanVleet's hurt. And so we spent all season circling the trade deadline as like, can Houston find a way to improve their point guard room? Now that they lose a core part of their identity, which is Steven Adams and those double big lineups and the ability to understand, hey, you know what? Sure, might miss a lot of threes, but guess what? Going to control every single offensive rebound off that rim and give ourselves multiple cracks in a possession to find a way to score with a generational one-of-one score and Kevin Durant still getting it done at the age of 37. So like that was a great identity for them, even with the point guard issues. But now you're looking at February 5th, you still got to figure out something with this point guard room, in my opinion. And you've got to go find a way to get another big body in here who can try to emulate a little bit of those double big lineups with Şengün. And the problem is, the same bigs out there that we're talking about for OKC to go get an insurance big and the Thunder viewing them as like break glass in case of emergency. Those are the same players that are out there for Houston as well. And Houston needs them in a bigger capacity than just break glass in case of emergency. So sometimes the luck just does not go your way. And for me, the luck has not gone Houston's way. And I just really cannot see them making a deep playoff run under these conditions.
Jeremy, when you look at the Houston Rockets, that was a team that was thought of in the same breath as Oklahoma City and San Antonio when it came to young teams on the rise, that they had a lot of good young talent, good draft capital. And then this past offseason, they move on from Jalen Green and they bring in Kevin Durant. And, you know, they gave up some capital in the process. And then, of course, the injuries, you know, VanVleet and now Steven Adams. Do you still think that Houston has like a future of many years of being competitive here, or is their window narrowed from what it could be? Like, do they belong in that same long-term discussion, you think, as Oklahoma City and San Antonio?
I wouldn't necessarily say long-term, just because, you know, they traded not only Jalen Green, but Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
Somebody who was the heart and soul of the team, a young guy. You know, he was the heart and soul of that team. You take him off and you take Jalen Green, you see that, you know, you bring in KD, you see, you know, they trying to win now. They still got some young talent, but they lost some young talent as well. So I feel like they have a chance the next couple. I mean, they have a window the next couple years, just because you still got Kevin Durant, Şengün, Amin Thompson. You know, if you can get what's their point guard that got hurt? He looked like Drake. Yeah, VanVleet. If you can get him back, because that's what they're missing, and that's what they was missing when KD was in Phoenix. So
yeah, with Grayson
when he
Allen
gets over there,
guard.
yeah. So he gets over there, and then VanVleet goes out. You know, it's just unfortunate to Rylan's point, but at the same time, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully, he can get back in the next year and get back to himself. So I think they still got a window, for sure, because they still got a lot of talent and a great coach as well. But I wouldn't say it's as long of a window as, say, OKC or the Spurs. You know, I feel like the Spurs, obviously, they got a long window. OKC, you don't know how long the window. Like, it's just, you know, you can't see the end in those two situations, in my opinion. But they still got a window. Don't count them out, but, you know, it's all good.
Rylan, one thing I would point to, relaying this back to Oklahoma City here, we were talking at the top of the show about the idea of trading for Giannis. And the last 2 years, I feel like every one of these so-called experts has talked about, all right, when's Sam Presti going to cash in these picks and go bring in a star player to play with SGA and all this. And they've been very patient. They've stayed to their system. They have done things their way, and it has paid off for them, and they've stayed the course of action. And I think that when you look at Houston, and their situation of, making that move to bring in Kevin Durant and, losing Van Vliet and, some of it obviously is some bad luck, but it feels like to me that Houston is that tale that you can say to Oklahoma City, this is what happens if we don't stick to our plan potentially. If we don't stay the course, we don't want to end up like where Houston's at right now potentially.
Yeah, you certainly can look at it that way. And Houston did a good job of threading that needle in the sense of giving up Jalen Green, who I still believe in, but it was clear that it was not going to work with Şengün. And they also gave up Dylan Brooks, who's a big part of the identity of any team he's on, even though he gets a bad rep. And that has hurt them a little bit. But for Kevin Durant, that has really chump change to go through while maintaining the fact that they have the 2026 first-round pick this year. They have 3 picks in next year's draft class. They have a 2028, 2029, 2029, 2030, and 2031 pick to trade still, even after acquiring Kevin Durant. So I think that they walked that line as good as they can, understanding that their window wasn't as big as Oklahoma City's window is and still currently remains. And that changes also the dynamics of trying to trade for a Giannis if they were to get into those sweepstakes, especially with the way that their salary cap sheet is kind of set up. It's like the exact opposite of Oklahoma City, where they have a lot of guys who are making a lot of money that they can easily match the salaries. For the Thunder, it's good to have all these team-friendly contracts, but when you're trying to scrounge up $54.1 million, it gets more difficult to get in there for. Like, for example, Houston can get to that money by just packaging Fred and Steven Adams, who are both out for the year, Dorian Finney-Smith and Aaron Holiday. One of them doesn't even play, and the other one is Dorian Finney-Smith, who I think is a good little ball player. But if you can get Giannis in this standpoint next to Kevin Durant, you'd be willing to part with Dorian Finney-Smith. But you'd, of course, have to pony up basically all your picks, but you do have some juicy ones like the Brooklyn pick in 2027, the Phoenix pick in 2027, who knows what they're going to look like, and then most importantly, the Dallas pick in 2029, which there's no guarantee will be anything, Dallas will be anything out of this rebuild by that point, depending on their lottery luck moving forward. So, it can change, but their window is not certainly the extent that a OKC or that a San Antonio is, and that's why you're seeing San Antonio say, we're not in the Giannis business, and you're seeing Oklahoma City not be in that Giannis business either because they don't want to disrupt their long runway.
Folks, we want to thank you for tuning in to the Locked On Thunder podcast. Make sure to subscribe and follow the Locked On Thunder podcast so you can get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the club is built for you. Get the Locked On Thunder podcast ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. All you have to do is head over to lockedonthunder.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NBA game night on Locked On NBA. Guys, we have a little bit of time left. We had fun with this the last time we brought up Steven Adams, so I'll do this again. Jeremy, Steven Adams, your guy, you got plenty of good stories about Steven Adams. What do you want to share with us today about teammate? Anything you want to that comes to mind?
A good story about Steven Adams. I remember the whole year he used to tell me that his sister could beat me up. Because I was like so skinny, I'm like, man, relax, bro. Like, I'm not trying to hear that. And he would tell me that all the time, like, man, I'm about to get my sister on you. I'm like, what are you talking about? Anyways, time go by, it's like halfway through the season, and his sister was in town, and it was after the game. And he ran out, and his sister picked him up off the ground and gave him a noogie. And I was sitting there like, who is that? He's like, that's my sister. I was like, she could definitely whoop she could definitely beat me up, yo. And that's when I realized his whole family is like ginormous. She's like a great Olympic like shot put, but she was like real cool. She's like extremely strong. So he made me a believer that day. But shout out Steven Adams. That's my guy.
We love Steven Adams around here. Rylan, big game tonight against Minnesota. I think we were talking about teams in the West. Like, I don't believe in Houston. I don't believe in the Lakers. don't count on Minnesota quite yet. I think tonight should be an interesting game. You'll have some post-game coverage tonight and more on the channel the next couple of days.
That's right. We'll be recapping this game against Minnesota and then also recapping that Denver game on Sunday where Chet Holmgren, before that game, should be announced as an All-Star for the first time. So one last chance for Chet to put his stamp on the All-Star case tonight.
Looking forward to it. And we'll be back here to do it all again on Tuesday with another edition of the Thunder Squad Show. Folks, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the game tonight. Have a great weekend. We will see you on Tuesday. For Jeremy Lamb, Rylan Stiles, I'm Tyler Jones saying so long. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night, everybody.